I have to be honest with you guys. I am very behind where I wanted to be right now. And if you're feeling behind in your novel as well, this is going to be the video where we get our creative groove going again and get out of our writing slump. And before you click away, this is not another toxic productivity video. If it weren't for toxic productivity, I wouldn't have gotten burnt out in the first place, because those videos don't really account for the life of a mom with ADHD. My children aren't infants anymore, so it's a lot harder to find time for stuff. They fight their bedtime more than they used to. I'm sure if you're a mom, you have really experienced that. And I'm just so fatigued from the physical demands. And when you watch a lot of those productivity vlogs, they're like a single woman in her 20s in the middle of college. They just don't really account for where I am in life. So the most important thing that I'm doing right now, and that I think you should do as well, is to give yourself grace. And I know I've said that before. Giving yourself grace is so important, especially when you're super type A and you just want to get everything done and it just feels like you're drowning. Grace is the equivalent of coming up for air. And so if you're in the middle of a period where you need to give yourself more grace, the system that I've developed today is actually intended just for that. I've got my bullet journal here today, and the first thing we're going to do is to really identify where my old system went wrong. Now, part of the reason getting out of a writing slump is so important right now is because I'm trying to publish my book by the end of the month, which is 2 weeks away at the time that I'm filming this, which is crazy. I don't even have a book cover yet. Like, what's going on? Whoopsie. I invite you during this time to do the same thing. If you're stuck in the middle of a slump, get out some pen and paper. You can get pencil. I could not find my zebra pen today, so I got this Ticonderoga. We are all quill buddies here, so let me know in the comments what your quill of choice is today, and type #Quillies to go along with it. And we are going to find the right page, figure out what went wrong the first time. I have come up with a new system, because if the old one wasn't working, then obviously keeping the old one and trying to use the old one again is just not going to cut it. So instead, I'm going to use my bullet journal in order to implement the newest system, which is actually something I've been wanting to try for a long time. And that is time blocking. And one of the things that I've also been struggling with is, like, during the burnout, I've just felt like a dopamine deficit. So I actually already made a dopamine menu, but I'm going to try to utilize the dopamine menu more often in order to more effectively release dopamine that will actually make me feel better, and not just like short bursts of dopamine like candy and chocolate, you know? So in order to do time blocking effectively, you really need to actually pick out a time to do something. And I think that this will honestly be a little bit better than using a rigid word count anyway. It makes it harder for you to punish yourself when you don't meet your goals, right? Maybe you have a time block set for 30 minutes and you're gonna write for 30 minutes and that's what you're gonna do. I think that will be better for my mental health right now with the babies and the toddlers and everything else going on at this stage in my life. The downside of this is that it might slow me down a little bit. I don't know, maybe this is so hard for me because you know when you're so type A that you just don't want to make things easier, but you know that that's what you need to do at this stage in your life? That's sort of how I feel right now. I'm like, I should probably make things easier and set softer goals for me, but that feels like losing. We're just gonna do little baby toddler steps, starting with pouring some more tea. So the time block that I've picked is I'm going to write for 30 minutes in the morning. And I would love to hear what time slot you're going to write in. Be sure to include it in the comments with the #Quillies attached to it, because we're all quill buddies. Now, one of the reasons that I chose time blocking is because I only have 2 weeks left to get my entire book ready for publishing, and there's still so much that I have to do. By choosing to use time blocking instead of something more rigid, it's giving me the grace that I need to actually write my novel without holding myself to a strict word count that would box me in and just make things more stressful for me. And honestly, I've found that when I write for just 30 minutes, that's usually about 1,000 words anyway, so it kind of works out. There's also one more thing that I've decided to time block, and that is free time. Now, maybe that sounds crazy to you, I don't know, but I got kind of depressed, and so I didn't want to do my hobbies for a while, and I think that kind of contributed to the depression. You know, it's a never-ending cycle. You get sad, so you don't do stuff, so you get more sad because you feel less productive, and it just tumbles out of control. I've picked a very specific time slot. I know that between 12 and 3 o'clock, I feel awful. I am so tired that being productive just feels like the hardest thing to do in that moment. And I've picked this time block specifically because the babies will be sleeping and I'm not in an ideal state of mind to write because I'm just too tired. I'll write a paragraph and it'll take me like 15 minutes. Like, I would definitely recommend that you take some time, even just like 2 weeks, you could take some time to journal and just pick out different times during your day. Maybe you could set an alarm and be like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, what is my energy doing right now? It's 2 o'clock, what is my energy doing right now? And just writing it down and then come back to it like 2 weeks later and you'll see what your energy patterns are. And then you can pick a time when maybe you are not in an ideal place to write, but you do actually have free time during that time. That would be a great time to actually work on some of your hobbies. I have a lot of hope for this method, so I'm gonna start implementing it this week. And if everything goes well, then next week I will tell you exactly how you can pace your novel and choose chapter breaks so that you have an intuitive novel that actually pulls your readers through. I want to make a big shout out to Therese M. I hope that I'm saying that right. I apologize if I'm not. You have been so engaged in my content and I really appreciate that. It's really meaningful to me and I just want to say thank you so much for being an engaged #Quilly.